Well, you don't want to miss this one. Another Joe Rogan experience set the internet on fire, and this time it was with JD Vance. It's over 3 hours long, and I have to say that I loved every minute of it. The pair covered a lot of grounds, but they didn't hold back when the topic reached the MSM's performance during such a critical time ahead of Election Day. Today we're talking about that, and you definitely want to stick to the very end, because you won't believe how hilarious Joe and JD's impressions of Kamala are. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more discussions just like this.
Could you imagine if there's the same sort of scrutiny on Kamala's speeches and appearances in these media outlets as there is on Trump's?
Oh my God.
Like, one of the things that we talked about was how they edited that one answer that she was asked, like, what, about foreign policy.
CBS.
Yeah. They edited it completely. And I wasn't aware that they put an answer for a completely different question there.
Well, okay. So I think that what happened there, having done try to understand that a little bit better, is they basically just edited her answer down a lot so that she didn't sound like a total insane person. Because what aired, I think, on the smaller, what aired on the channels online that had a smaller pickup
was the rambling.
The
word salad.
But what actually aired on the news programs was, it still didn't sound very good, but it sounded a hell of a lot better.
That is the thing with the lamestream media, because they aren't even hiding their unfair coverage of Trump anymore. We've seen it with the debates in their daily news reports. They wait for Trump's every word and gesture, dissect it, and then frame it in a negative way. Even his offhand remarks are interpreted as evidence of divisiveness or as controversial statements fueling different narratives to put him in a bad light. But the former president wasn't going to let what 60 Minutes did slide, because he filed a lawsuit against CBS seeking up to $10 billion in damages, alleging, quote, it deliberately doctored an interview of his opponents to harm his electoral chances. CBS in turn released a statement saying, quote, 60 Minutes fairly presented the interview to inform the viewing audience and not to mislead it. Since this has become an active legal matter, I won't comment on it any further. All the facts are out there, and I'm sure you've seen both versions of Kamala's answer. So let me know in the comments who you think is in the right here. I am not a legal lawyer at all, but JD came prepared to this podcast, and he had an interesting statistic to share with Joe.
You, of course, I'm sure, paid attention to the kerfuffle over a comedian at the Trump rally at MSG. I think you even know this guy, right?
He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, yeah.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
So he tells a joke about, Puerto Rico. The number of mentions on CNN about this joke in the last 48 hours, this was as of last night, 143, on MSNBC 101, on ABC 53, on NBC 32, and on CBS 31. In 2 days, they talked about that joke effectively nonstop. You know what it means to have 31 mentions on NBC News about this particular thing? That is that is saturation. Last night, Joe Biden called the half of America that's going to vote for Donald Trump garbage. Do you think that the word garbage is going to appear on CNN 141 times over the next 2 days?
No.
I would bet no.
Of course it won't. That simply goes against the narrative they're trying to push, but realize he wouldn't get a fair shake from the MSM. Trump managed to bypass traditional outlets and build his own media presence to connect directly with supporters, whether it's through the massive rallies he holds, Truth Social, X, or his recent podcast appearances. He effectively became his own media machine, and his ability to reach audiences directly is unmatched. And being the marketing genius he is, Trump masterfully returned Joe Biden's statements against him in a brilliant move that left his opponents speechless.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
I gotta say, that is hilarious. I feel like people watching our politics from another country would see it as an episode from The Office. Movies like this enable Trump to control the conversation and steer it in his way, keeping the spotlight right where he wants it. It's a strategy that has kept his supporters loyal and engaged, trusting his voice over MSM, and it's redefining how political messaging works. JD took the recent Biden case to explain why people are losing trust in legacy media.
I don't know if Jamie can bring this up, but I tweeted about this last night, that Politico, when they initially tried to write the story about what had been said by Joe Biden, they said that Biden had called racism against Puerto Ricans garbage. Well, who disagrees with that? I think that racism against Puerto Ricans is garbage, but that's not what he said. He said that Trump supporters are garbage. He said it's on video. So Politico tried to retcon this It turned out there was a video, so we could actually see for ourselves what was actually said. But the amount of dishonesty in the American media really is off the charts.
That's right, and a lot of people have noticed it too. A recent Gallup report showed that 36% of U.S. adults have no trust at all in the media, and another 33% are grouped as not very much. According to the same report back in the 70s, media trust ranged from 68 to 72%. The effect is not just dissatisfaction with particular stories or channels, but a broader lack of trust. Viewers increasingly question the objectivity of the news they consume, seeing it as less of a factual reporting and more as opinion-driven narratives that serve specific agendas. This perception has led many to turn away from the MSM outlets altogether, seeking alternative news sources that they feel might offer a more balanced perspective. People aren't stupid, and they notice how partisan reporting creates an impression of media bias that distorts reality. But of course, Joe had a different take than that of JD's, and he chose to go all out on Harris as well.
It is, but also with Joe Biden, I think at this point in time, he's literally that crazy guy on the porch yelling at the neighbors. I mean, no one thinks he's there, which is also one of the fascinating things when they asked her, when did you know that he was mentally impaired and why didn't you talk about it earlier? And there's this, Joe Biden has always done the amazing work that Joe Biden does. It's just like this long, like, where are you going?
Yeah.
You want to get the lights that they use with air traffic controller, like, come this way.
Yeah, come this way.
Like, help her out.
Gotta say, that's a spot-on impression of how Kamala talks. I think he wouldn't have done it if he wasn't sure she was not coming on his podcast. You see, when Trump's campaign announced he'd be going on the Joe Rogan Experience, rumors started to circulate that Kamala would make an appearance too. Even during the Trump episode, Joe made sure to keep the door open, because when Trump said she'd be a mess if she appeared on the podcast, he was quick to shut it down and say they'd have a fine conversation. But things changed after Harris's team set some conditions, which were revealed by Rogan as he posted on X saying, quote, "For the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in my studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and to get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen." There was also a report where a former senior advisor to Kamala insinuated that Joe stands to benefit more than her by doing this interview. That's why he should be the one doing everything to meet her. That's a controversial stance to take, especially since it had happened just days away from the election date and might have swung some votes her way, but hey, who am I to judge? JD also did a Kamala impression of his own, and I think you'll be seeing this clip on YouTube Shorts for years to come.
Do you think she wears an earpiece?
I wouldn't be surprised. I have no idea.
The earpiece one was amazing.
But man,
the little
she just
Bluetooth thing, the earring.
It's astonishing. She talks. The only way I can describe it is she talks in circles.
Yeah,
right. It's like
Tim Dillon says it's like she does gypsy curses because she speaks in gypsy curses.
That's very good. But it's we need to build an opportunity economy, because if Americans don't have opportunity, then they're not going to have the opportunity to be Americans. And it's like, what the hell?
The opportunity to generate wealth and generational wealth. Like, wait a minute.
In an era where authenticity is everything, JD's podcast appearances showed that the MSM's portrayal of him as some weirdo couldn't be further from reality. It proved that he's just a normal guy with sensible views, acting in a way that he thinks would benefit his country. Rather than sticking to regular interviews where the setting is serious and everyone is in suits and ties, Vance was able to discuss his values, personal experiences, and unique perspectives on policy in a conversational, natural way that resonated with everyday Americans. Whether you vote blue or red, you can't deny that the Trump campaign made a smart move by going on multiple podcasts, racking in millions of views and reaching new audiences that they wouldn't be able to via the old channels of communication. If you've made it this far in the video, please share it with your friends so they can be as informed as you. Have a great day.